Welcome back to the table. Today, Emily and I are going to be taking a look at Amygdala, and I am pronouncing that correct. I looked it up multiple times.
Nice, good.
This one is from Game Brewer and Kramer and Kiesling, who we're familiar with. They've done tons and tons of games. You're a fan of Kiesling and all the Azul series.
Yes, Azul is a big fan of mine.
And this is, I mean, by the looks of it, you're going to think this is an abstract game. There's a lot of color going on in this game.
So much color.
Sure. This has the most intense colorful board I've seen in a very long time.
I do love bright pink, if you guys couldn't tell.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
This board I did feel a certain way about as soon as we saw it.
But thematically, it's all about the amygdala, which is part of the brain that centers around all the emotions and things like that. So we're going to be using words like dreams and ideas and thoughts and things like that, because that's what all of the different things are called. But they're all effectively resources that you're going to be collecting, getting emotion tiles from your player board that's set up with a ton of them to begin with, out onto the main board, and getting some area control going out there, but also having to manage your memory bank. Like I said, this is a lot to do with the brain. The memory bank is probably one of the most interesting things going on with the game, because it's where you have to store literally everything that you collect in the game.
Everything you collect.
Nothing is going to be sitting along the side of the board except for these claim tokens at the beginning, because when you get those, even those go in your memory bank. But we'll get all to that in a second. We're going to give you kind of a brief overview of how the game plays. We've played it a couple times now, so let's get right to it.
So the first thing you can do is, as we're going through, you see a bunch of stuff you want to collect. So there are these resource tiles, and the first thing you'll do is you'll be able to move your marker to wherever you want to collect some resource tiles. There'll be 2 at a spot that you can choose from, and the nice thing about it is that you'll pay the cost, and if you pay the higher cost, you can take both of them for that same higher cost. If you want to take just one of them, you can pay that what cost it is for the lower one, but it's nice to start acquiring a lot of these resources early. But again, like David was saying, everything comes into your memory bank. So whatever you want to get, you have to make sure you have room for it. Otherwise, you're going to have to start dumping stuff.
And you'll be familiar with that if you've played some of their other games. I mean, it's not unlike a lot of their other designs.
Yeah.
There is a place where you store things, and like you just said, if you collect a few of these things, you have to stop collecting and start using them.
Right.
For sure. Now, these resources, again, these are the very emotions that you're going to be using to sort of pay to get the emotion tiles off your board. So each emotion is represented, and then there's also some that look like this that is sort of the wild. This is what they call the resource, but it is effectively a wild emotion that you can use, again, on a certain action to get these emotion tiles off the board. And one thing I want to point out while we're looking at the board here, I do want to point out this is a prototype for sure. I think they're going to have much more glorious components on their campaign. So make sure to check that out on their campaign on GameFound to see all of those details. Some of the other things that are going to be going on when you're not collecting resources, you're going to be spending those resources, like I said, to place an emotion tile. Now, this is sort of the meat and potatoes of the game.
This is the big thing that you'll be doing.
The first one that you just mentioned, that's easy. You're just moving around, you're collecting the resources.
Stuff, yeah.
This one has a little bit more going on. So you're going to want to look at these emotion tiles on your player board, and you're going to seed your player board at the beginning of the game randomly with all of those emotion tiles face down, then you flip them face up. So then you're taking this thought piece, the thought marker, off the board on your first turn and placing it on any one of those emotion tiles when you take this action. Now when you do that, you have to take the emotion tile off, but you have to pay for it with resources that you've collected. So for instance, this one's going to take the pink star and sort of the purple diamond.
Yes.
I have to have collected those and then exhaust those, discard them, and then I've taken this emotion tile off my board. Now, what do I have to do with this? Well, the next step is to place it on the main board. And just like when you're collecting the resources, you have to move your marker to where you want to place it.
Yes.
This is kind of a significant part of the game. This marker out here on the main board is almost constantly going to be moving, no matter what you pick on your turn.
And it's like a puzzle. You're trying to figure out how can I do things efficiently. So sometimes I might take an action first where, since I'm already on this pink square, I can do something in pink so that way I don't have to keep moving. And the reason being, every time you go around that first starting lotus, you have to pay a coin.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem that bad. You start with 30 coins, right?
Yeah.
But money is very tight in this game. And so it's definitely a puzzle of trying to figure out when I'm going to take moves so that way I can do it as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, it's not just willy-nilly moving around whenever you want. And like Emily just said, the coins and the money are tight in this game. And not only the amount, but again, the space that you have here. Because you start the game, each player starts off with 30, and it's 3 10-value coins. So it's only taking up 3 spots in your memory bank. But as you spend 1 coin, well, guess what? That 10 just became a 9. And a 9 is going to be a 5 and some 1s, which takes up a lot more space. So this becomes a very tricky puzzle, and it kind of will play into the fact of when you collect those resources, for example.
Right.
You might want to go ahead and spend a little bit more and get both the resources.
Just so at least I spend it.
Exactly.
Instead of losing it.
Because you're managing this space. Now, all at the same time, you just watch that value in the money dwindle and dwindle and dwindle because there's not a lot of opportunity to get that money back. There are some as you collect these tokens off of your board, but not a lot.
Yeah.
So back to collecting those tokens off your board. Once you have that emotion tile, you're going to place it out here wherever your piece is on the lotus. So this one will have to go on the pink star or the purple diamond. So if I'm on this lotus, I could go to this purple area here, or if I was down here, I could go to this pink, or even here. So each region of control has
to
2 lotuses.
Yeah.
When you place one of these, and you'll see we have the board, this is sort of our end game state, so you're going to see kind of the networks that were built. But you have to place this, if I'm going to place it here, it has to be placed next to this source, which is sort of the middle of each of these areas of control, where you have either the pink star or this purple diamond like this. The alternative is to place next to an emotion tile of yours that you've already placed that has one of these emotions on them already.
And that gives you a lot more flexibility because now he can put it not only around the pinks, but he could put it even out here, right, next to this other pink that you've already placed, which is already going into this happiness region in the middle. So you can start to expand these, and you see things like, you know, we started with greens in here, and then it's got a little bit of red, and then we just kept going with the red. So you can really take advantage of that and start putting pieces around the board in places you might not have thought of to begin with.
And that's kind of the other hook here. Aside from the memory bank, I think that building of the network and how you don't just, you're not just going to one emotion area and placing that emotion.
Right.
You're able to sort of use some of these tiles because some of the emotion tiles have 2 emotions on them, thereby allowing you to connect some of those and building that network into different regions.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you're trying to put them next to other ones because you're scoring at the same time. So if I can put mine next to these pinks, I'm going to score a point for every pink that's connected in that little network. So if I were to put that new pink and purple piece right here, it's going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and I'll score those immediately.
And then finally, after you do that, you're going to come back to your player board and check to see if you've been able to claim a bonus. Because after you remove one of these emotion tiles, if you've removed all the emotion tiles that are surrounding one of these bonus areas, you're able to take those bonuses. This is where you're going to be able to get some of that money back. It's going to be where you can get some dream tokens. Now, we'll talk about the dream tokens in a minute. Also, some of these idea tokens. And then finally, the claim tokens. Everyone's going to have a claim token on the side of their board for each of the emotions on the main board. And when you get one of those, you're going to take it. When you get any of these, they are going to go into your memory bank until you've used them. Now, how can you use them? Well, the last action is placing a claim token.
Right. So you'll just, again, go to the color where you're trying to put your claim token. And this one's real simple. You just put the claim token down.
Right.
Which is easy. You can also have multiple people claiming an area. But what's important is that at the end of the game, you're only going to score area control for the places where you have the claim token. So even though you might have the most in, like, say, the pink region, if you didn't put your claim token down there, you're not going to get the first place points.
Right. That is an absolute must to remember in this game.
Yes.
Now, when you get a claim token off your board, you're able to pick whichever one you want. So you aren't cornered into a decision.
Right.
But you're going to want to make sure and get those ones to latch onto the points where you can, because at the end of the game, whoever does have claim tokens is going to get a first, second, and third place depending on player count of points here. So you could get into a region with just one little bit of presence and get second place, which isn't too bad. Now, the other reason I wanted to mention the dreams and the ideas are those are also worth something. a few different things. First of all, there's a lot of free actions in this game.
Yes, you can do a lot of different conversions, which is nice because, like we said, money gets very tight.
Yeah.
And at some point, you might not have that space in your memory bank. So you're like, oh gosh, I got to get rid of something. Do I just get rid of a coin? Or maybe you get rid of some of these dreams or ideas or even smile tokens that you're not using right now, just so you can get a little bit more money. Maybe ratchet up to a 5 coin, and then you don't lose any money, and so you can get more resources later. But the conversions definitely help. A lot of them are things you don't want to get yourself in a situation to have to do.
Yeah, a lot of them don't feel great to do, but they're there to provide you the flexibility when you're in a pinch. And some of them let you spend money to get some of the other things. So there's a lot of different conversions in those free actions. But the big thing to use for ideas and the dreams are right here on the dreams. If by some chance you're able to collect 6 dreams and hand them all in at once, you can get 27 points.
Kudos to you if you can do it.
If you can, because to do that, you're going to have had 6 of spaces in your memory banks filled with those dreams. So that is going to be a tricky thing to collect slowly all of those dream tokens and still continue to play the game efficiently.
Right.
But you can trade them out as you get them. You could get 1 and trade it in for 2 points, but the more you have, the more points you're going to get.
Similarly, the ideas will give you coins back, which are really helpful because they come in later in the game and you're at the point where you're saying, I wish I had more money. How do I get more money? Ideas tokens are really the big way you're going to do that. So again, the more you can cash in at once, you can get all the way up to 15 coins.
Which is a lot of money.
A lot of money. Or if you only can get 1 at once, you can get just a couple coins. But anything helps really, so they're good.
Yeah, I think when we played, I think both of us, we didn't want to trade in 1 dream or 1 idea. I think when we did it, we at least got 2, maybe a little bit more, but it is a tricky thing. And they're there meant to be used that way. So you want to collect those.
You definitely want to use them.
It is the main source, I think, or the biggest source where you can get some more coin and money to get some of the emotion tiles out. So you're going to continue doing this round after round until one player has just 5 emotion tiles left on their player board. When that happens, you're going to finish the round, and then everyone's going to play 1 more round, and then the high score wins. Now, we played this once, and our score was tied, and we played...
Exactly tied, even the tiebreaker.
Vastly different games. We maneuvered around our boards quite differently. We were going into different areas. In fact, this is the end game state for that. And we both ended up at 86 points. And then we went further to the tiebreaker, and it was related to how many coins we had left.
And we had exactly
the same amount of coins, too. So, and that's always a really interesting sign to me when a game allows a slightly different experience or vastly different experience even between players, and you can score similarly.
Yes, yeah.
But it's an interesting game that has a theme that, using the emotions, it is an abstract game at its heart, but the application of the emotions and like the ideas, you've got dreams, you get emotion tiles to like sort of get area control things going on here, which I assume this represents the amygdala, do you think?
I would assume so.
I'm going to guess so.
It definitely had a lot of emotion in the game, in that I think there's a lot of tension too. It's definitely a big puzzle of trying to figure out how can I use my resources just right for the memory break? How can I put my networks down just the right way? Get my right area control?
Yeah, there is little interesting strategies that come up too. Just little tiny things that pop up. Another thing that you have to keep into consideration is as you go around this board collecting resources, those resources are going to automatically refill when there are 3 left out. So if you take it down to that point, the board is going to completely refill for the next player's turn, which is going to give them a ton of resources. And they can choose any of them. Honestly, they can go to anywhere. They just might have to spend a coin. But when you refill like that, one of the lotuses might fill up with 2 of the wilds.
And that's a pretty juicy spot.
And that is a very juicy spot for them to go and get that because it gives you a lot of flexibility. So there's little things like that and timing things that you're going to want to take into consideration.
Yes.
But anyway, that is Amygdala. If you have any questions at all, please make them in the comments below and we'll try to answer them. Until next time, though, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then. Congratulations, you got to the end of one of our videos. Now, if you want more practice, just click on the video over here. It's another video. You might not have seen it yet, so click on it. If you don't want to do that, at least click on the subscription button below. That always helps us. And if you want notifications, please ring that bell.